following program is a production of Hōʻike Kauaʻi Community Media.
Aloha, and welcome to this special series of interviews with the Kauai County Council candidates. I'm Mark Perriello, President at the Kauai Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Lexi Jones, the Vice Chair of Hōʻike Community Television. We're honored to bring you these conversations, giving each candidate the opportunity to share their vision of our island's future.
Today we'll be speaking with KIPUKAI KUALIʻI, who's eager to share his ideas and plans for our community. Welcome, KIPUKAI.
KIPUKAI.
Aloha.
These interviews are an important part of our democratic process, giving you the chance to learn about the candidates who are running and why.
Our hope is that these conversations inspire you to engage in the process and to vote. Every voice matters, and your vote is critical in shaping the future of Kauaʻi.
So let's dive right in. Please join us in welcoming KIPUKAI to the conversation.
Aloha.
Aloha.
As we begin, please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're taking on the kuleana of leadership in our community.
I'm KIPUKAI KUALIʻI. I'm native Hawaiian and Portuguese. I was born and raised here. I went to Kamehameha High School. I went to college on the continent. I spent like over 10 years away working in city government and very active in my union and in the social justice movement and the LGBT movement. And I spent 2 years also in Washington, D.C. working for the Civil Rights Department at the AFL-CIO. But I moved home in early 2000 and I started paying attention to council. And there were a few council members that I was very, I liked what they were doing. And then they left, so I kind of thought, oh, maybe I can do this and I should step up. And with my community organizing background and my love for the island, and I thought I had something to contribute. And I've been doing it for a little bit now, so and I think I'm doing a good job, so I want to continue doing that for the voters.
Nice, thank you, KIPUKAI. So let's dive into some of the tough issues facing our island these days, one of them being housing. As you know, Kauai faces a significant challenge in providing affordable housing for its residents. Demand for affordable and workforce housing continues to outpace supply, while rising housing costs and the prevalence of off-island investment exacerbate the issue. The community has been exploring various strategies to address these challenges, including increasing the supply of affordable housing, providing rental assistance, and supporting community land trusts. Here is the question. Given the ongoing housing crisis on Kauai, what specific strategies would you prioritize to increase affordable and workforce housing, or housing affordability in general, and how would you work to implement these strategies?
Thank you. Our housing shortage crisis is absolutely probably the number one challenge, if not number one, right near the top. It's been something we've talked about for a long time. I think in the last couple of councils, we've been taking some action. It's my passion addressing the housing shortage. I've been the chair of the Housing and Intergovernmental Relations Committee for the last couple of terms. I've worked very closely with our housing director, Adam Roversi. Not last term, but the term before, we worked on a total update to our housing ordinance, Ordinance 860. And what we were trying to do is we were trying to incentivize more private development and incentivize more development, high density development in our town core areas. So what we did was we reduced the requirement, the assessment from 30% to 20%, which could actually be even lower because developers has the right to invoke some of the exemptions when they do certain types of housing. We redefined what workforce housing is. We brought the 140% AMI price line down to 120%. So 120% and higher would be handled by market housing or private developers. we extended the term of affordability from 20 years to 50 years. We increased the assessment for resorts. Any new hotel development will have to do 50% workforce housing, affordable housing requirements. And then we also exempt the high density town core areas so we can have more apartment buildings. We need housing of all types, right? Mm-hmm. And we think that in the high density areas like Lihue, for example, we need more apartments, townhalls, duplexes, fourplexes, and the infrastructure is all there in place. And with more development and smaller development, those inevitably would be and could be lower priced homes. And then we also are incentivizing those town cores. Right now, we started with Lihue, Koloa, and Kalaheo, but in a second round of updates to our ordinances, we're going to add, I think, Waimea, Kekaha, a couple more. That's just the ordinance policy upgrade. One big thing we've done more recently in our last budget cycle, so let me go back, our Housing Development Fund. So that's where we have funds dedicated to housing that our Housing Director, Adam Reversi, manages and puts towards different projects. So in September, we passed a 2% annual appropriation requirement. So 2% of all our real property taxes will go into this housing fund. That has been approximately $4 million. Well, in this last round of budget, the mayor proposed and the council accepted and passed moving the tax rate for transient vacation rentals up to the same level as resort and hotel. That resulted in an additional $8 million, and the mayor dedicated that amount to the housing fund, and the council agreed. Also during the budget cycle, the council, by a 5-2 vote actually, approved, we have this new tiered structure with how we can do our real property tax rates, and the council approved the tiered structured rates for transient vacation rentals, slight increases that would bring in an additional $7 million. So this new budget year, we have quadrupled our housing development fund. And we know too that our housing agency has been doing a lot of good affordable housing projects, and I'll tell you about some of them in just a bit. And so their inability to move forward was because of funding. Mm-hmm. So even though they're going after federal funds and state funds and tax credits, with more funding, we know they can do more housing. Mm-hmm. So just as an example of some of the housing that are underway, because I just got my monthly update from our housing director the other day. In Lihue, there's the Wright Street apartments that are underway. 66 units right there on the corner where the Central Pacific building is. That's going to be affordable apartments, 4 stories, built right up to the sidewalk, the city style, right, where you can now have cafes and stuff on the street. But 4 stories, the bottom floor is commercial, and the top 3 floors will be affordable units, 66 of them. They are breaking ground by the end of this year. In Kilauea, we are planning for affordable housing there in the new area, just behind the new commercial area of Kilauea town. They're having their second town hall meeting next month. And then in Waimea, the 400 acres of Waimea, when we acquired those lands, we used some of our housing funds and some federal housing funds for that. So now we are required to also do affordable housing rental projects there. And they're working with the community to see what shape it'll take in the best form. And then of course we have Lima Ola, which is our biggest project in Eleele, a whole new community of sorts with park areas and surrounded by single-family homes. The single-family homes are underway. The first 8, I believe, are being constructed. We have senior housing, 40 units, and that's move-in is in October, and then we have multifamily affordable units, 45 units, move in November. So a lot is happening, and more can happen if we invest more money into it. So I think to a certain degree, if you look at the different counties, Kauai is sort of leading the way when it comes to affordable housing. And I think it's because the mayor, the housing director, and the council have been working very, very well together.
Thank you, KIPUKAI.
Thank you. Deep insight. Moving forward into our next topic, which would be economic diversification. Kauai's economy has long relied on tourism, which leaves the island vulnerable to economic downturns, such as during the pandemic. Potential sectors of diversification include agriculture, technology, healthcare, renewable energy, and the arts. What is your vision for economic diversification on Kauaʻi, and which sectors do you believe hold the most promise for the island's future?
I can't really say that I myself have the vision, but I know that the people of Kauai and different organizations and what I want to point to is the Kauai Comprehensive Economic Development Strategic Plan that's in place now for 2022 to 2026. So our Office of Economic Development plays a role in that. The Chamber, a lot of business organizations, they have these industry cluster working groups. And so the people from those different industries kind of give their mana'o and input on what are we going to do? How are we moving forward? How can we do better? How can we attract more business? How can we support more business? So build and attract and retain the 20th century workforce. We have to work with our schools, even probably as early as high school, to start training the workforce for the industries that we want to promote. And obviously we should be promoting industries or these areas within our economy that has higher paying jobs. The cost of living is so high here, right? So ag makes sense because we have a lot of great fertile land, and we have a lot of different farmers already trying, and I think we just need to support them more, even with land to begin with and water. But it is about supporting the businesses so that they can support the community with jobs. And obviously when it comes to ag, also with us being more sustainable so that in the long run, we can provide more of our own food.
Excellent.
All right, thank you, KIPUKAI. So our next question is about climate change and environmental sustainability. Kauai is particularly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, including coastal erosion, extreme weather events, and threats to natural habitats. Addressing climate change and promoting environmental sustainability are critical for the island's future. Kauai has explored various strategies, including coastal protection, renewable energy adoption, waste reduction, and sustainable agriculture. How would you address climate change and promote environmental sustainability on Kauai?
Absolutely. So I don't know if people realize, but I read somewhere we have 90 miles of sandy shoreline, and that's more than any other island in the state here in Hawaii. I think the most important thing to do, and we're working on it now, led by our Office of Economic Development, the Kauai Climate Change Adaptation Plan. That's underway. Basically, they need to inventory the top climate change related potential impact areas, if you will. And then with all the stakeholders and with community input, developing a framework of how to best respond. And obviously we have to protect our infrastructure. We have to conserve fresh water for our farmers. We have to protect our rare native species. And most we have to protect our people and their private property, right? We do have some properties now that are in jeopardy and along the coast. And I know we have a great planning department and all the work that they're doing. I think, again, they're leading the way, our Kauai Planning Department, with climate change response and all. But with our West Kauai Community Plan, they've put into the plan as well something called managed retreat, where with the county's 400 acres in the west side there, the county will dedicate some of those lands, according to the plan, to help people who are living right on the coast that are jeopardized to move to, and while it's a great expense, I guess the county is planning to help with the land piece of it.
Mm-hmm. So quick follow-up question. So that was quite a list of things to do. Describe one specific project or initiative you would champion.
I absolutely want to work closely with the Office of Economic Development and with planning. And I think they're the experts, and the business community as well. I don't know specifically, it might take some funding. I know right now there's small levels of funding with studies and what have you. But I do think it's important to plan for the future. And maybe, I don't know that it's needed. I'm not sure as far as planning regulations and bills that are in place, but to not be making the problem worse, but allowing certain types of development right up. And we have our, shoreline setback regulations. Yeah. And in fact, just a couple of years ago, I was part of a bill that updated that shoreline regulation. So,
yeah, one of the first in the country, I believe. That's
Mm-hmm. When we originally did it, for sure. Yeah,
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Now, transitioning to transportation and traffic congestion. While visitors contribute to traffic congestion on Kauaʻi, the surge in traffic when schools resume in August underscores the impact of resident commuters on the island's transportation system. In addition to the infrastructure improvements, Kauaʻi has been exploring various efforts to reduce traffic congestion, such as expanding bus services, developing safer bike lanes, and encouraging walking through improved sidewalks and pathways. However, our island's rural nature and the dependence on cars is very present and creates unique challenges. A question: what solutions to ease traffic congestion on Kauaʻi resonate with you most?
I think some of the things you mentioned, and I think we have to do all of it. I live in Anahola, so I drive to Lihue every day, and I have to deal with traffic myself, sometimes worse than others. Mm-hmm. But I think we need to continue working with the state to make sure that our contraflow operations are well managed and that continues. Whenever it's not operational, we definitely hear from people. I'm sure. But I also think we need to work with the state and maybe private landowners to look at potentially acquiring lands that could help us do additional access and maybe bypass roads. And I think we could help the island a lot by maybe having a access bypass road from Koloa to Puhi, and then also another one from Puhi to Honolulu, so that maybe people could avoid the coming through Lihue. If you were trying to go from the west side to the north shore, you can just avoid Lihue altogether if you can drive around. And the future development in Lihue is going to require us having more roadways as well. So that additional, bypass routes, and I do think that, now is a time, big projects like that, roads and everything, takes an enormous amount of money. But under this Biden administration, there has been big infrastructure bills passed with, more money than has ever been made available to states and counties. So we need to make sure, and I believe our administration is going after some of those monies, but we need to go after much of that as possible, especially when it comes to our roads and our bridges, the infrastructure.
All right, thank you, KIPUKAI. So food sustainability is up next. Agriculture has the potential to play a larger role in Kauai's economy by providing local food, preserving open space, and contributing to economic diversification. However, challenges such as limited infrastructure, general disinterest from younger generations, and the need for startup financing persist. What is your vision for a thriving agricultural sector on Kauai, and what actions would you take to support your priorities?
Again, I will point to the Kauai Community Economic Development Strategic Plan, because like I said, there was those different structures. And so I looked at the agriculture and food sustainability cluster and got some ideas from there. But before I share that list, I'll also say we need to continue the successes that we have and expand on them, like our sunshine markets. We've already added the EBT where people can use their EBT cards at the sunshine markets. But sunshine markets is supporting our farmers, and then it's also supporting our people, right? Bringing them together for fresh fruits and vegetables and all the things that people are growing. But also we need to support the agricultural parks. We have Aina Ho'okupu o Kilauea, which is a beautiful example of the county helping them get started with land and some help with the water infrastructure, and then it just taking off where they're they've built like a pavilion and everything. They've grown so much over the years, and now they distribute all those produce boxes with the food bank and everything. So that's one example of success, and we need more of that. Like what's going on in Kilauea, we need in different parts of the island.
Great. And then
I did want to go through this list. It's probably some of the stuff you've heard because it's right off of the SEDS plan. Increase use of technology tools in farming and agriculture. Support students as young as elementary in exploring ag-related programs and careers. Support organizations like STEM-related, Ag Tech, 4-H, Go Farm, Future Farmers of Hawaii, and our Cattlemen's Association. That's just to share some of it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And continuing forward about destination management. Kauai Destination Management Action Plan, DMAP, aims to manage tourism in a way that benefits residents and visitors alike by promoting sustainable practices and enhancing community engagement. What are your top 1 or 2 priorities for tourism on Kauaʻi, especially as they relate to DMAP?
Yeah, I think this destination management plan is incredibly important. And I think us having gone through, as an island in the community, having gone through COVID, made us see how we couldn't just keep doing things the same way. So it's super important that we redefined pretty much everything we do, but being that tourism is our bread and butter and our #1 industry, we want to have a better tourism. And I think one of the ways they call it was regenerative tourism. And I think that KVB, the Visitors Bureau, is leading the way with this destination management plan, and the goal being to rebuild, redefine, and reset the direction of tourism. I think it's critically important. I think more and more people from the community, especially statewide, are stepping forward. I love the things I've read in Aina Aloha Economic Futures, and how so many Native Hawaiians are engaged and involved with that and growing that organization, and even coming up with policy recommendations. Most of them are for the legislature, and I think some of them for the county we already have in place. But I think if we just keep going back to community, we will get the answers on how to best move forward. And it is important that we do that shift and thinking of now it's more about honoring the host community and our own ecosystems, and figure out a way to make the visitors still meet the visitors' needs and still meet the market demand approach, but with all those things in mind. And it's not just about making money, right? It's about giving a positive experience to everyone and then leaving the place better than you found it, right? And not just taking from the place, but giving back to the place too. And I think it's exciting because we have a culture and we have a way that people can benefit from, and we can make that visitor experience even better by highlighting the culture more, the concepts of malama aina and kuleana, that you have a responsibility even as a tourist coming here to take care of our place, and then the beautiful experiences that you have now, you can come back 10 years and have it again,
That's the point, right? How we leave the place 10 years from now and even beyond. So the last question isn't really a question. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience today?
Oh, I guess I just really need your support, and I feel like I've been doing a good job. I hope you think so too, and that being on the council has been, a privilege and an honor, and I'm just, so grateful, and so it's a job that I love and enjoy. Community organizing, I think. The diversity that everyone brings, you be yourself, you bring forward who you have, who you are, and you contribute. And I've been dedicated and hardworking, and I term out after one more term, and I want to actually help other young people get elected as well. And then I'll stay busy in my Hawaiian Homestead community and some other works in different ways as well.
You got it. Well, thank you for your time today, KIPUKAI.
Thank you both.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
That was a pleasure.
Definitely.
Aloha.
So mahalo nui loa for joining us today. We hope these interviews give you a clear understanding of the candidates and their vision for our beloved island.
We'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the incredible support that made this series possible.
First, a big thank you to Hawaii Crop Improvement Association.
We also want to express our gratitude to the Hawaii Lodging and Tourism Association, our Kauaʻi chapter, for their continued partnership.
A special thanks goes out to Hōʻike, Kauai Community Television, for providing the platform to bring these interviews to you.
We are also grateful for the Kauai Island Utility Cooperative for their unwavering support of our community initiatives.
Thank you as well to KKCR, Kauai Community Radio, for helping us reach more of you across the island.
We couldn't have done this without the support of Kekaha Agriculture Association, who have been champions of local engagement.
And last, but certainly not least, thank you to Meridian Pacific for their generous support of this effort.
Remember, your voice matters. Make it heard. Be sure to vote in the upcoming election and help shape the future of Kauaʻi.
Thank you again for watching. A hui hou.